that. So these are the things that in the past we might have raised as issues that people in authority weren't necessarily aware of unless they heard from the people that were working in the schools that kind of knew what was happening every day. So that's all kind of gone into it. At the same time, although it's aimed at ministries of education, we believe that it would also be a useful tool where it's not necessarily adopted by ministries of education for kind of local government officers that are responsible for education, and also across the world. I think we have quite a fragmented school system. So I'm based in the UK and some of our state education is privatized. So we might get a number of schools that are state schools, but they're run by a private company or trust. And it might be that we can get some of those companies also to adopt the toolkit to try and make their schools resilient as well. Okay, so we have the next slide, please. So there's 5 different objectives in the tool, and we had kind of long discussions around each of these to develop it. So lots of thoughts and ideas from educators around the world and others have gone into the detail behind these. So obviously there's more detail in the tool than what you can see here. But there were all sorts of things we discussed. So obviously the first objective there is supporting educators to provide quality climate education, because without training, not everybody feels equipped to do that. And it might not be something that they did at the beginning of their career, so they're not in the habit of doing it. The second objective about strengthening educators' capacity to maintain education amid climate disruptions. You've got things around, you know, what kind of alternative provision is in place if schools are closed. You know, we had a lot of discussions remembering back to the pandemic where schools might have been locked down, and in some cases remote education worked well and in other cases it didn't. And also supporting educators that might not, like we talk about disadvantaged children or the most marginalized groups not always being able to access education, but that's the same for the workforce as well. So during the pandemic, we experienced that a lot of teachers and educators didn't have proper access to full internet connection at home, or they didn't have a room to work in because they can't afford accommodation near where they work, etc., etc. And then the safety and well-being objective. Again, we discussed things around stress. So teaching is known to be one of the most stressful professions. I mean, it's also one of the most amazing professions, and I feel really privileged to have spent my career doing it. But educators do need support in a crisis. It affects them in other ways, because educators are not just educators, they're also mothers, fathers, daughters, sons that have other issues going on in their lives. And in order to be able to carry on maintaining good education for the children, they need to be supported, but they also need to be supported to know how to support their students that are experiencing anxiety and you know, isolation as a result of weather events and climate emergency events. So then we talked about quality working conditions before, during, and after the impacts of things. And what we recognized was that unless you have good and safe working conditions in your job, then you're not going to have good and safe working conditions after climate events happen either. It kind of needs to be there in place at the start so that you're more resilient when these things happen. And then we had a strand about increasing educator voice, so teacher and support staff voice in climate change and related policy around it. So one of the reasons that we think the Greening Education Partnership is so good is because it had a really strong educator voice involved in it. We feel that it was a really good example of a just transition. So I'm in one of the affiliate trade unions to Education International, and Education International were a key player in developing all these things. And it's a good example of a just transition because we represent, you know, thousands and thousands of educators around the world, and their voices were heard in this. So that's a model that we feel we should have in countries at the country level, at the local authority level, and everything, is that those educator voices are heard when policy is being developed. So I have the next slide, please. So that's just a little bit of detail about how the tool looks, but when it comes out, you'll see that anyway. And I probably already talked too long, so we'll have a quick look at that, and then we'll go on to the next slide. That's it. And this is just a few examples of what's been going on in the UK to make this a bit more real. So we had one example where we had a flood in a small town in England, and it meant that the bridge was unusable. Now, some children lived this side of the bridge, and some teachers lived this side of the bridge. And then some children lived that side of the bridge, and some teachers lived that side of the bridge, but the numbers weren't necessarily equal. And the school was on one side of the bridge. So you didn't know whether enough children could get to the school, number one, but number two, more importantly, if those children did get to school, could the educators and the support workers and the school leaders and everything get to school as well, so that it could operate for the day? And these are the kind of dilemmas, aren't they, that people are facing? You know, do I keep my schools open today? Is it safer to close them? Is it more realistic to close them? If everybody comes in, are they going to be safe? Can we look after the children properly, etc., etc.? So that's what's prompted these kind of discussions. I'm well aware that in the global south, the scenarios we're looking at are a lot more diverse and kind of dramatic than that. But even in the UK, we are getting these happening now. And the kind of things that I'll just pause for a minute.
We cannot hear you.
Okay.
Participant. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to the Reunión.
Is that it? Okay, right. I think they're going to tell us where the restrooms are in a minute. Okay, so the United Kingdom's NDC mentions education 31 times, which I thought was quite impressive. We want every country's NDC to mention education lots of times, but we also want it to mention the education workforce, because there's no education unless there's people looked after to deliver it. So it's just a couple of examples. This is something we've been working on within trade unions in the UK. When we've had some extreme heat in our classrooms, our buildings aren't always resilient to that extreme heat because they weren't designed for it. So all the education trade unions kind of got together and drew up a kind of protocol that happens when there's a heat wave. And in some situations in local governments, we've got the local councils to adopt this. Okay, and then we've also got some very
Please proceed to the restrooms at the end of 3, where the social care is held.
Do you know what so it's just like being in school. Any teachers in the audience? See, you never know what's going to happen next to you. Okay, so we've got a few kind of local versions of bits of the Greening Education Partnership going on, and I know in other countries people are doing similar things. But I think the thing that's great about the tool that's being developed around climate resilience under the JEP is that it's something that, you know, everybody can adopt everywhere, and we can get more similar ways of working and build on the things that we've learned and that have have worked locally. So if we can have the next slide, please. Okay, so the Global Partnership for Education are going to support the piloting of the tool, and they're wanting, you know, people to sign up for this pilot. And I'm not an expert on this because I'm not Global Partnership for Education, but they've asked me to kind of present this so that you can see what it is they're planning to do to try and make the tool real and get it adopted worldwide. Because obviously always the worry about things that happen with COP is that they're bits of paper and conversations and they might not actually happen on the ground. But it's really good that the Global Partnership for Education through their KICS hub have got plans for, you know, piloting this and trying to help to get it implemented. And is there another slide? I can't remember. Can we have the next slide if there is, please? Yes, so the plans are to pilot the tool, and then we would like interested countries to contact the co-chairs of the group on that. And there's a few last revisions and design things to go on before the kind of formal launch and publication of the document, which is planned for next year. So hopefully everybody's going to look out for that and embrace it, because we think it's a wonderful thing. So thanks for listening.
Thank you very much. Hello? Thank you so much. Hello, can you hear me? Does it work? Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jennifer, for your presentation. Thank you for your flexibility and your patience while you were presenting. I would also like to thank all the co-chairs of Working Group 3. So I'll just say again that this is work that's been done under the Greening Education Partnership, and it's co-led by Education International, the Global Partnership for Education, and UNICEF. So thank you all very much, and you can see the names of the colleagues on the screen. So moving ahead in our program, so another new publication that we are very pleased to be sharing with you for the first time in its entirety today. And there will be another event, as you will hear, another webinar, an online event tomorrow to go into it in more details, is the Greening Communities Guidance. And this is work that is being conducted by colleagues of the Greening Education Partnership, working under Pillar 4 of the partnership, which is on greening communities. So the work has been co-led by our UNESCO Institute for Lifelong Learning, and together with the World Scout Movement as co-coordinators. And we're very pleased to have with us today, connected, I suppose, from Hamburg, where they are based, colleagues from UIL. So I think Edith Hammer, my colleague, is online, and she will be taking over and talking us through the main points of this new guidance tool of the JEP. So Edith, over to you.
Thank you, Katharina. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. Special greetings also to the on-site participants at COP30 in Berlin. It is my pleasure today to announce the new JEP guidance document on greening communities. And this guidance, as already indicated, will be officially launched tomorrow in a dedicated webinar, to which all of you are cordially invited. I believe the registration link will also be shared in the chat. And for today, I would like to give a brief overview, a preview of the final document, and we will also share the link to the document, which can then be accessed tomorrow. So we are three of us today, and after my introduction to the guidance, we'll hand over the floor to the representatives of the two institutions that have partnered to publish this guidance. I will hand over then to Ms. Isabel Kempf, who is the director of the UNESCO Institute for Lifelong Learning, as well as to Cynthia Marquez, who is the director of education and innovation at the World Organization of the Scout Movement. Before going into the content, I would like to also mention that the guidance was coordinated by URL, World Scouts, and the Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations, and it was supported throughout by the CHEP Secretariat. The guidance was developed, co-created by a dedicated group of experts from different sectors, from all world regions, and each and every one of them made a crucial contribution to this guidance and helped to shape a highly relevant and practical document. And I would like to extend my thanks to everyone who was involved in the process. So to start with, maybe we can go to the next slide. I would like to start with the main objectives of the document. So to see what this guidance is all about and what it actually provides. The guidance supports the development, implementation, and ongoing improvement of climate action strategies at the local level. It is a flexible guide. It can be adapted to the context of diverse localities across the globe, from megacities to smaller rural communities. It offers clear principles, minimum requirements that are needed to define as a green community, and also concrete actions for greening communities from a lifelong learning perspective. As such, this guidance will contribute in expanding and strengthening the creation of green communities around the world, and in line with that, it will also contribute to the main objectives of the Greening Education Partnership. Next slide, please. So when developing this guidance within our drafting group of experts, a key question that came up several times throughout the process actually was, what is a green community? How do we define a green community? And what is the role of education and learning when we define a green community? And I think this question also refers very much to the underlying principles that guide this document. So in the guidance, we consider a green community to be one where people live in harmony with nature and with each other. And it is a place where lifelong learning empowers individuals to take climate action and also to make sustainable choices. In green communities, learning is inclusive, it is action-oriented, and it is available to people of all ages and all backgrounds. These communities are supported by local governments and policies that enable participation, resilience, and continuous improvement. And this is a very important point, that we see the role of municipal governments as crucial in enabling comprehensive and well-coordinated climate action strategies instead of having scattered approaches. So green communities offer learning across formal, non-formal, and informal settings. They go beyond schools, and they engage diverse stakeholders and promote climate justice, adaptation, and regenerative practices. Next slide, please. So zooming a little closer into the different sections of the guidance, I hope you can read the writing quite well. So in addition to the introduction that lays the foundation of the guidance, we have 4 more sections and an annex with practical templates. And in section 1, we dedicated this one to the who. So who are the learners in green communities, and who are the ones that are offering learning opportunities towards climate and sustainability action? The guidance promotes a whole of community approach, which means that it explores the roles of government or municipal stakeholders, of the civil society, of education and academic institutions, but also of the private sector, of different groups of change agents, including youth, women, indigenous peoples, among others. In section 2, we move to the question of where the learning takes place in local communities. And this guidance advocates for a holistic approach to climate education, going beyond the remits of schools. Climate and sustainability learning can really take place in a very broad range of contexts, including in municipal places, through outreach of formal education institutions, in different community places, in places of worship, in families, and also in diverse digital spaces. In section 3 of the guidance, we deal with the what and how to learn. So this section outlines the key content areas for green learning, including climate science, biodiversity, and climate justice, among others that are also included in the greening curriculum guidance. It also stresses the importance of local adaptation and inclusion of indigenous knowledges. It also recommends participatory and culturally relevant pedagogies that can foster hands-on engagement, making sustainability education meaningful and impactful. Then looking into section 4 of the guidance, here we go more into the whole of community approach in the sense of developing a green learning strategy for communities. And the guidance here proposes an iterative 6-step process for creating a green learning strategy, including to start with research, stakeholder engagement, planning, strategy development, the implementation, and monitoring and evaluation. And it also provides a practical tool for mapping policies and stakeholders and community needs to ensure that strategies are locally adaptable and actionable. Then finally, we have put together a repository of tools and templates in the annex of the document. And this includes an action planning assessment tool, which is really very practical to help communities to put these ideas in practice. And the tool helps also to evaluate progress, to identify whether municipalities consider themselves as green learners or already as green leaders, and how to prioritize actions through adaptable checklists that are included for learning activities. Its flexibility allows diverse communities worldwide to tailor strategies to their local contexts and to build on existing strengths and strategies that may already be in place, and of course to foster cross-sectoral collaboration. So next slide, please, which is already the last slide. So you can find here the QR code and the link to the document. As mentioned initially, it will be available online as of tomorrow. So you can save the link and then access it tomorrow. We truly hope that the guide will act as a useful tool in your efforts to build green communities from a lifelong learning perspective. And with this, I would like to hand over to Ms. Isabel Kempf, the Director of the UNESCO Institute for Lifelong Learning, who will share with us how this guidance document relates to the work of URL and its mandate. And thank you so much. Isabel, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Edith, and very happy to be here with the other members of the Greening Education Partnership. Hello to everyone. Your presence and our presence here reflects really a shared commitment for us on the most pressing challenges of our time, which is climate change, but also to one of the most powerful solutions, which is lifelong learning. And today, I think, is a really important step forward during this pre-launch of the Greening Communities guidance. From the UNESCO Institute for Lifelong Learning, it really embodies our core mission to advance sustainable development through learning that spans a lifetime across different generations and geographies. As discussions at the COP30 currently remind us with renewed urgency that climate change is a lived reality, threatening not only individuals, but also communities worldwide, it demands that we rethink how we live, how we work, and how we care for each other, and also for our planet. It calls on us to reimagine industries, reshape economies, and most importantly, to empower people with the knowledge and agency to lead on the necessary and urgent transformation. This is why really lifelong learning must be at the heart of our climate action, because adult learning and education are essential. It equips individuals, young and old, with the tools to adapt, to innovate, and to build resilience. And it fosters the critical thinking and awareness and also civic engagement needed to drive change and also collective action. So it's this vision of a green community as outlined in the guidance that is both bold and beautiful. Communities where people live in harmony with nature, where sustainable livelihoods, production and consumptions flourish, and where lifelong learning is really a catalyst for the climate resilience. So this vision resonates very deeply with us at UIL because we work on education for sustainable development, future literacy. We work with a lot of community learning centers and also with our global network of learning cities. The guidance document presented here today is not like a prescriptive manual. It is really a flexible and very adaptable framework that invites communities to shape their own paths. And we're already seeing many inspiring examples from around the world. Cities investing in green skills and future skills to prepare workers for a sustainable economy. Communities preserving and reviving traditional knowledge and cultural heritage as part of their climate strategies. Living labs where universities and local actors co-create solutions for climate adaptation. These different approaches all have a common thread. They make climate action local, relevant, and rooted in a lived community experience. They show that lifelong learning is the connective tissue for sustainable transformation. But success will really depend on leadership and collective action at the same time. Local governments, educators, civil society, and citizens must come together to define goals, implement strategies, and share that journey. So in doing so, we can build really a global movement, community by community and city by city. We are ready at UIL to support this movement, and we look forward to work together with all of you to empower our communities to become engines of these movements and lifelong learning for all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Isabel, also for supporting this publication as URL director throughout. And indeed, the launch of this publication is not the end of a process, it's really just the start, and we much look forward to taking this to the next phase and supporting its implementation. I would now like to hand over to Cynthia Marcus, the Director of Education and Innovation at the World Organization of the Scout Movement, to share how WASM will support the implementation of the guidance, and in particular when it comes to promoting it among young people and supporting young people in their climate action initiatives. Cynthia, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Edith, and thank you all who are joining us in this lounge. It certainly is exciting, and it has been a privilege for World Scouting to join efforts with UEL and FAO and all the amazing experts who took part of the drafting document and the consultants and experts who supported us. We believe that when communities are given a clear north and a shared purpose that is so powerful as the vision that this guideline give us, they become also powerful engines on their own transformation. And the knowledge and the wisdom also comes from them. Change does not start with external solution being delivered to people, but in the other way around, how people can develop and think and design their own solutions in innovative ways. And normally, the best examples of innovation come when the grassroots people and communities come to life in putting these ideas together. It begins when individuals recognize their collective strength, and when we all together also make sure that they feel stronger together, when they see themselves not as the beneficiaries, but as co-creators of their future. Through World Scouting, our responsibility and our mandate is at the moment and for the next 9 years of our strategy is to create a peaceful and inclusive world shaped by youth that also is sustainable. And to make that happen, we will put to service the mechanism that help us enable young people and other generations and other sectors to collaborate, to create spaces to listen, tools to act, and opportunities to learn from each other, as we normally do on our platform of 50 million scouts will do the work and become lighthouses in all the different communities where we are and activate our networks and our mobilization in a way to understand the guideline and also help to bring this to the communities. We also believe that when collaboration is intentional, structured, and open, communities are able to design solutions that are more relevant and lasting in time, sustainable, are also deeply owned for generations to come. So we see young people again as the step or the cornerstone where we can protect the environment, build peace in our neighborhoods, support vulnerable groups and empower them and team up with them to strengthen social cohesion. We hope that also our allies and all the supporters and people who see value in us join our efforts in contribute to greening communities and continue supporting young people to practice intergenerational collaboration and to develop all their full potential as leaders, not only for tomorrow, but also for the present, giving them the spaces to lead on that. So we appreciate the effort of all the people who has worked, for the ones who will be supporting us. And this is just the start of our journey to make communities more green. Thank you, Edith, and thank you all.
Thank you, Cynthia, for your kind words and also for all your support, of course, throughout the years and your dedication to the drafting group during the past 2 years. So with this, again, an invitation to join the launch webinar tomorrow, and I will now give back the floor to Katharina. Thank you.
For the presentation, and thank you for all your efforts and your work into the development of this guidance tool. And we look forward to the launch webinar tomorrow. I repeat, it starts at 1 o'clock Central European time, so Paris, Hamburg time. It will be 9 o'clock in Belém tomorrow morning. So moving on, I would now like to invite Miss Lana Abu Kulbain, who is the technical engineer of the Emirates Green Building Council, and who will also be joining us online to present and to launch another tool that has been developed through the Greening Education Partnership under the leadership of the Emirates Green Building Council, and it's about sustainable school buildings guidance. So I hope that Lana is connected and online and ready to present, so I will pass on to her. Please, the floor is yours, Lana.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. So good evening from the UAE, and I guess good morning to all of you. Assalamu alaikum. I'm really pleased to be amongst you, even though online, to present to you a project that's really close to my heart. So as mentioned, my name is Lana Abu Kulbain, and I'm part of the technical team at the Emirates Green Building Council. That's at a professional level, but at a personal level, I'm a mother of 3 children. And I guess this project means a lot because it comes from the heart of a mom to the children of the world. So let's move on to the next slide. So why talk about school spaces? We know that children spend around 180 days of their year in the premises of their school environment, be it outdoor or indoor. And that these spaces, according to research, do not just affect the way they learn, but they have an impact on their health and well-being. Let's move on. So what's the current problem with school spaces? Schools in hot climates, they are facing extreme energy loads, extreme hot climates, and they are in deteriorating conditions. So we must act to make them in better conditions. Move on, please. And from there came the idea of a sustainable school building guidance booklet. Why do we need it? Because existing guidance on how to build a sustainable school is fragmented. We need to put it all together. We need to talk about all the topics that are relevant to school buildings. And because this sustainable school guidance booklet will support policymakers, ministries, and school owners to really understand how to pilot projects in hot, arid contexts. Next slide, please. So a bit about who we are. I represent the Emirates Green Building Council. We are a non-profit organization to raise awareness on sustainability of the built environment. We are part of a global network of green building councils under the umbrella of the World Green Building Council. Next slide, please. One of our main programs, which I lead on, is the Emirates Coalition for Green Schools, under which this project was initiated. As a nonprofit organization, our powerhouse comes from the ability to collaborate with different sectors. We're strongly associated with the private sector, who become members to the council, and we work closely with them. We work closely with the governmental sector as well as the academic sector. And from that ability to connect all of the three sectors and much more, we were able to develop this project at hand. Next, please. You can see here some pictures of our engagements. At the back end, yes, we talk about embodied carbon, we talk about energy, we talk about water. But engaging with the youth and with schools and with children is as important to us as we raise awareness on topics related to sustainability of the built environment of school buildings. Next, please. So we have published other publications before what we are launching today, because we believe in the importance of talking about the school buildings. It started off with the State of Our Schools white paper focusing on the UAE, and that happened a few years ago. Moving on, we benchmarked the energy and water consumption in several schools in the UAE. And from there, we focused for a couple of years on the environment quality of school buildings and what does it mean to think about air quality specifically. Moving on, please. Now, with that in mind, with the powerhouse we have, with the excitement to always talk more about schools, in 2023, we joined the Greening Education School Pillar. And during COP28, we attended the first annual general meeting at the United Arab Emirates. In February 2024, building on the fact that we were part of the school pillar of the Greening Education Partnership, and we were closely working together with the working group on the Green School Quality Standard, we initiated, after discussions with the UNESCO JEP, that we are interested in developing this booklet. And moving on, in COP29, we launched the first kind of complete draft of this booklet, and we initiated a review period from then on until where we are at now, COP30, where we're very pleased to be launching the final draft of the booklet. Next, please. Here, we started off, and I just want to maybe give you an overview of the methodology. I started off with developing an outline after several discussions with the UNESCO JEP team and FEE. We created a working group that had so many professionals from the private sector and students and professors. Moving on, we developed a project boundary. We had to understand what are we focusing on. So each expert took on parts that they are more relevant to their experience, considering climatic conditions, the age group, and of course that we're talking about school buildings. As you will go through the booklet, you will realize that we created a framework. Under each topic, you'll find a main title, definition of that title, the aim, the recommendation, the technical input, and the case study if we found. And bear in mind that we are focusing on hot or heat-affected areas. After developing this project boundary, understanding what we're looking at, professionals started to draft their parts. And the parts were drafted based on existing local regulations that have to do with hot affected areas or heat affected areas, as well as considering LEED for schools and the well building standard. Moving on, we launched our first draft for review, and the review took on two, let's say, forms. One was more about the framework, so the topics we covered, and the other one had to do with the technical content. And moving on, we ended up with the final result, which we're launching today. Next, please. And you can see here that you can scan to download the booklet, which I'm really happy to share with you. You can find it on the UNESCO Digital Library as well. It's already uploaded. Next, please. Or maybe a few minutes for everyone to scan the QR code. A few seconds, sorry. Yes, because I saw some raise their phones. I think we can move on. Thank you. So what will you find in the booklet? Honestly, we tried to cover everything we can think of, starting from elements of passive design, which are really crucial, thinking of your site, your location, your building orientation, your building massing, and the envelope. Moving on, we spoke about materials and what should you pick for your school buildings. Then we, of course, tackled the energy efficiency, water efficiency, and most importantly, health and well-being, which is gaining a lot of traction. Moving on, we tackled universal design, which is also equally important. We talked about waste management, school transportation, the green school signage and wayfinding, and of course, financing. Because as much as we wish to have more sustainable schools, mechanisms of green financing are crucial in that development. And finally, a very short call to action compared to the very large booklet of about 100 pages. Move on, please. So how to use this booklet? If you're a policymaker, designer and consultant, school leader, facility manager, or teacher, we expect and we hope that you'll use this booklet as a technical and strategic reference to guide you to develop better schools. You'll use it for your planning, designing, and construction phases of the school, and you'll use it to identify opportunities to make your school building even better. Next, please. Now for the future timeline. Of course, we're not going to stop here because we understand that, yes, as much as we're building new schools, there are existing schools out there. So we're hoping that in phase 2, we will focus on retrofitting and operating sustainable school buildings and hope to launch it after 2 years. Meanwhile, we're working in the background in COP32. Next, please. So a very simple call to action, just like the gentleman who launched the tool where we're measuring, you know, all what we're doing when it comes to the Greening Education Partnership. We really want you to use it. Even though this was built for hot, heat-affected areas, you can adapt the framework and add parts that are more suitable to your region. And I'm very eager to share it with all of you and see it in action. Thank you. And of course, just before ending it, I'm extremely thankful to the UNESCO JEP for giving us this opportunity to take part, and to all the professionals whom you'll find their names under the acknowledgement for giving their time and their passion to help us build it. Thank you.
The outline of this new tool, and looking forward to, I mean, I would obviously like to encourage and invite everybody to have a look at it and use it. And we're also looking forward to your future tools that you just mentioned that you're going to be developing. So next in the program, I would like to invite my colleague Mario Piacentini from the OECD Directorate of Education and Skills. Mario is in the room with us today, so welcome, Mario. And he will be talking to us about climate literacy in international assessments. So I will pass on the microphone to you.
Do you have my slides? Okay. Thank you very much to UNESCO and to the JEP for giving us a bit of time to present this work. I work in PISA at the OECD, and I'm here to present you this climate literacy framework for PISA. The basic idea is that we are developing an assessment of climate literacy that will be included in PISA 2029, and it's of course it's a great opportunity to collect data on what students know and can do over many countries. You know that PISA collects data for over 90 countries now. So in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to talk about this. Yeah, you can find, yes, let's try to be louder than the other guys. it is really fresh, launched this morning. You can find it on our website. Next slide, please. So first thing that we do in every framework is to define what the construct is, what climate literacy is. Please move on. I was controlling the slides. Bernardo, okay. This is the definition. Climate literacy is the ability to understand how the climate system works, how human actions affect it, and how climate change impacts people and ecosystems. It combines this knowledge with evidence-based reasoning and system thinking, the capacity to evaluate evidence, information, and perspective, and the agency to shape individually and collectively sustainable future. Next slide, please. So these are like competencies or components of climate literacy. The first one is understand and explain human-induced climate change. This is basically about developing an integrated set of knowledge. It's not just about science, but also about the social, economic, political, institutional dimensions of climate change. The second competence is called apply evidence-based and system reasoning. And it's essentially, it's the one that is more connected to science learning, using science, using data, using models to engage with evidence from multiple perspectives. The third one is evaluate arguments and perspective. It is connected mostly with information and media literacy. It's about the core idea is like, it's what has been emphasized quite a lot here at the COP, the ability to distinguish evidence-based claims from misinformation and to engage with other people's views with openness and at the same time with respect. The fourth competence is called exercise agency. It's about making informed choice about when, if, how, and with whom to act for climate futures. Let's move ahead, please. You will see that in the framework for each of these competencies, we define different components. For example, for the knowledge part, the first competence, we speak about knowledge of climate systems, so the science knowledge, but also knowledge of the institutions and the strategies that can be put in place for mitigation and adaptation. Same thing for agency. It's composed by 3 elements. The first one is about using future thinking to imagine the future that you would like to see, and then about like putting in place concrete strategies, formulating plans, and revising, persisting in pursuing concrete actions. Next slide, please. We provide also an initial idea of how like the competencies evolve from a basic level to a more advanced level, and also some example of what could be expected from students at different levels of each competence. Next slide. PISA is not just a test with questions and items, it's also a questionnaire. Students respond to a self-report, series of items that cover other elements that are important to assess, such as like the climate beliefs. Do they believe that humans play a role in determining climate changes or not? Whether they feel they have the competence for taking actions, and their climate emotions and the coping strategies. Next slide. So what we are doing in collaboration with some of the members of the JEP, like the Office for Climate Education, is to create a series of lesson plans that operationalize the framework. Basically, it's they are made of a teacher booklet, a student booklet. There is like printed versions, but also an online version that is more interactive. Basically, the idea is that we help teachers implement the framework in the classroom with a series of targeted lessons. And the idea would be to involve more members of the JEP and different stakeholders in co-creating this kind of material. So let's move on, please. Yes, these are some examples of what you will find in this material. Please, Bernardo, let's move on. Yeah, what a point that I was making here is that we are not trying to just like replace what already exists for all of these lessons, like each activity is mapped to the PISA framework, but also to the greening curriculum guidance that has been produced by the JET. So basically, we see these resources as very much integrated and complementary. Let's move on. The last message I wanted to say is that we are starting to collect data. PISA 2029 is very far in the future. We don't have time. So we did a data collection in Para this summer with over 8,000 students. And I just wanted to give you like one little piece of data that came out from this survey that is rather encouraging. Next slide, please. That basically we are seeing the data that agency-oriented, like active learning activities in the school matter, make a difference in several learning outcomes. The students who are engaged in activities at schools where they build their agency and the capacity to act have higher perceived agency. They feel they are empowered. They are much more likely to take actions for climate change and are also more likely to know what works in terms of mitigation and adaptation. So this is all I had to say. Yes, I will be sharing with you the QR code, but stay in touch for any more information. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marian. Thank you for sharing this key messages, and also thank you for keeping the time. We will be moving on to next presenter for this session. Who's also the last substantive session. So we are very happy to have with us Dr. Lisbeth Stier, who is Executive Director of People in the New Economy of Systemic. So she will be talking to us about jobs and skills for the new economy. And I know the work that you are going to be talking about and the report that you're launching is also part of the action agenda under the activation group that is related to education and skills and training. So Lisbeth, pleasure to have you here, and over to you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your patience. It's been a long session, so I hope you can stick with it for a little more. I will present on some work that we have been doing to try and get education on the agenda of the people who are talking about economic transformation. Because what I've discovered working for 10 years with Gordon Brown, the UN Special Envoy on global education, is that the education community sometimes struggles to enter the conversations around economic transformation, around financial planning, around the energy transition, and so on. So what we have been trying to do with this report, but also with the initiative that's building off it, is to create demand for education from the perspective of those who are working on the climate transition. So we can go to the next slide, and I'll maybe, yes. So the report was put together by a number of partners that have been working together over the past year. They include both countries as well as a number of organizations that are working both in the climate as well as the education field. And together we have come up with this with these recommendations. We're also very grateful to UNESCO, who have provided some really wonderful inputs into this report. Going on to the next slide, here are I'll give you just 5 key messages of this report. So the first message is that the new economy is a jobs economy. And that's a really important message, because a lot of the climate conversations have been about job shedding, losses of jobs in the context of the coal transition, for example. But what we find is that actually the climate transition will create a net number of jobs of 375 million over the next decade. And those jobs are being created, of course, in different sectors, with some sectors particularly important, such as energy, construction, and also the agriculture and land use sectors. So it's really important that we kind of enter ourselves into this, into these conversations around the transition. The second message that we have from the report is that a lot of jobs and therefore demand for skills will be created in adaptation, which is also not been the conversation. Most has been focused on mitigation, on the transition from coal or sort of brown sectors to renewable energy and so on. But a lot of jobs are going to be created in those adaptation activities, including in agriculture and construction. The third message, which is on the next slide, is quite an go back one. Yes, this is quite important because what we see is that the countries who have, relatively speaking, the most to gain from the transition, and those are the ones that you see on the right-hand side of the horizontal axis. Those are the countries that, relatively speaking, could create more jobs through this transition. They, many of them, and particularly the low and lower middle income countries, are not well equipped to essentially take advantage of this opportunity. So the red and the orange dots, which are sort of in the right-hand top quadrant of this chart, those countries are both the most likely to have the greatest opportunities, but also the most likely to be vulnerable and not able to capture those opportunities. And that is measured by lack of available skills, by informality of the labor market, and so on. So in those countries, we need to do extra work, especially on the education and workforce development side, to be able to capture those opportunities. So that's the third message is great opportunities, but many countries are not equipped to capture them. And so in the next slide, you can completely, maybe you can complete this slide, just keep pressing the button so you can see all the, yeah, good. So the reason why they're not equipped is, we've talked about the NDCs, workforce and skills development are often not part of the NDCs. Less than 50% have specifications, less than 1% have financing plans. Skills are also missing from corporate strategies. We had a lot of discussions yesterday when this report was launched in the Blue Zone with the corporate
remarks and officially close this third JEP annual meeting. Oh, and also, and some remarks also from our hosts from the Ministry of Education. So Felipe, over to you first.
Thank you very much. Before closing, I feel it's my obligation to thank you, the University of Amazonas Association, UNAMAS. They are the hosting for our space today. And as we are in Amazonia, in Belém, feeling real conditions, it's a very lively and dynamic meeting. I would like as well to invite all of you that are here in Belém to join the high-level summit panel this afternoon. And just to say that all the presentation, all the tools that were presented are very useful. I'd like to thank the Bureau of UNICEF in Brazil, because I see Rebecca and Marlova, and we have other entities in Brazil, the government of Brasilia, and all the partners in Brazil that are, because we have the federal government, but we have the states and the municipalities. And in Brazil, to have this coordination is key to improve the green education. So thank you, UNESCO. We are partners, and we need, we want to do more with you, to learn with you, and we need to hear the voice of the people here from Belém, from Amazonia, Colombia, Peru, etc. And it's very important that we work together, more close. OECD as well, we are not on users, but partners of the PISA program. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Special Advisor. Thank you, all of you. Can I have volume up? Just competing with the noise in the neighboring booths. Thanks to all of you very much for coming today. One thing I want to mention, as we has only existed for 3. This is our 3rd annual meeting, and I think we saw today really an impressive range of additional tools and resources that are available, thanks to the rich partnership that we have, again, with over 97 countries, partners who all come and contribute their ideas, their expertise, share good practices, and that gets filtered.
Hello, everybody, dear colleagues. We would like to thank you very much for your participation. A big thanks to all the presenters. We are sorry for the delays. We are sorry for the technical hiccups towards the end, but I hope you enjoyed most of the presentations. We're very impressed that so many of you stayed with us patiently up to the end. So that's how we are ending the third annual meeting of the Greening Education Partnership. We are proud to have all together with you launched so many new products, which we are now taking over into the next year and rolling out together. All the very best. Thank you again.